Welcome to ZOOMERTIMES TV, and here's your host, Anita Finley.
Here we are again. This is our ZOOMERTIMES TV presentation, and I feel so privileged to have the best of the best people that do this. You know, a lot of people want to be on ZOOMERTIMES, but we really can't allow them because it's not that it would be a joke, but they're just not experienced or expert enough. So we're very careful who we choose. We try to get people in different walks of life. And for us, Anthony Kulp is that specialist. He is really, not only is he just nice, he's just so smart. And you know, real estate, if you talk to your friends, they say, oh, real estate's going out of this world, and you can do anything you want, and you'll be able to sell something. Well, that's not, and everybody's paying a lot more. So we brought on Anthony Michael Kulp, who is a senior real estate specialist. And why don't you start off with Anthony, tell us what that actually means. What does a senior real estate specialist mean?
Well, senior real estate specialist, I mainly deal with senior citizens. Although I've been in the business for quite a long time, but it means that I mainly deal with senior citizens. I deal with all ages, but the vast majority of my business is senior citizens.
But there's a training. It isn't just because you like seniors.
Yeah.
You had to go through a course to understand what they might be seeing, sensitivity
then the
trainings.
experience.
Yeah.
And then you have the experience on top of the training. Anyone can get training, but if you don't have real life experience, the training, you have to apply it and learn, your application of the training to who you're dealing with. And, even senior citizens are at different stages of life. When a senior citizen first retires, they're looking for, somewhere that's active or where they want to live. And then as they get older, they may want to look at somewhere that it's aging in place. So.
Right. Okay. Well, let's talk about this hot real estate market where everybody thinks that they're going to make so much money on real estate. Why don't you get people what's really going on in the market?
Well, anyone who's getting ready to list their home with a realtor, they should be asking for a comparative market analysis. And that is similar to an appraisal, but it doesn't, you wouldn't be able to use it with a bank or anything like that. You want to stay away from what you see on Zillow estimates, because they call them Zestimates. The reason is they're not comparing your home to other similar homes. They're just comparing your home to the average sale price of whatever's around you. And, you want a real estate agent to find what is settled in the last 90 days that is closest to your home as possible, and then give credits or take away money for, your home may have a new kitchen and the other homes do not. And depending on the size of the home and the cost of a kitchen, how much would you give towards the price of your home compared to the other comparable? Because there is no two homes are alike. That's the thing with real estate. You could have two identical homes next to each other, but they're not alike because they're not on the same lot. And that's what makes real estate so unusual than anything else.
So the person, though, the realtor, an experienced realtor, doesn't want to waste time. He doesn't want to get the hopes up of the owner, and he himself is busy. So so you talked about comparative, and then talking about what this home has and what something else doesn't have. So now you got finished with that. Now do you have like an open house, and you do advertise, I'm sure, on Zillow or whatever, all these new organizations. So tell us how you actually now market that.
Well, the first thing you do is you meet with them and you go over the comps, which are the comparative listings. And then you come up with three listing prices. One listing price, you could never tell somebody how long something's going to stay on the market, but you would say at this listing price, most likely you're going to sell within 30 days. At this listing price, it could be 60 to 90. And if you're, swinging for the fences, I can't, this price may be on the market for a year. And, of course, everybody, they only tune in on the high listing price. And they take the high listing price in the short period of time that it's going to sell. And then it's you said, and this is why you have to put it in writing when you go to these listing appointments. So,
Okay, but now, so let's just follow through with that. Because I have, of course, been in the real estate business, and I have found that if you put something on the market and you do have it high, and they say, okay, because they say, well, just put it high and we can come down. Then you come down, then you come down. I don't think that people then think that that property is so good. Doesn't that have an effect?
well, you have to address that. I have a property, it's been on the market for over a year. And the seller knew when he was listing it that it was extremely above market price. But now the market has come up to his price, and we just ratified, and we got 3 offers, and we just ratified a contract this morning on it. So, which I'm very glad to be able to move on from that property, because I must have shown it over 40 times. And realtors and buyers ask, why has it been on the market so long? And
Right.
you don't try to avoid the question. And I say, the market has come up to his price. He was very patient to wait for his price. And now, it's a good listing. It's a good purchase. So
I see. That's a
if
good
somebody
point.
wants to list it at a high price, I'll say, well, I will hang in there with you if you hang in there with me. And by me saying that, I would like to get a 1-year listing agreement. Also, if it doesn't sell in 30 days, that's when we're going to sit down again and we'll talk about the price. You can't just let it sit at that price and it stays on the market. And then the people want to take the listing away from you. And then you see they listed with somebody else at a lower price.
Right.
So it's called a reduction schedule.
Ah,
After so many days, usually when you first list a place, if you aren't getting showings or offers, you set up a meeting in advance when you take the listing agreement and say, okay, we're going to meet on this day. If we haven't had showings or offers, we're going to reduce it by a certain amount. And then we're going to give it 30 days. And if we don't get anything, then we're going to look at this again. So there's, no benefit to them, and certainly no benefit to me for a house to just sit on the market.
right. Okay, well, I think we covered that about what's happened with all these hot properties that probably are sitting. Depends on how hot they are. And I would just add one more thing. There are some properties that maybe there's only one in that neighborhood and the neighborhood's great. Then I guess they can raise that price higher. But if
Right.
there are 2 or 3 or 4 in that place and it's a typical neighborhood, so what, right?
Right. You want to be competitive.
Yeah. Okay. So now I think talking about this, there are people who like the property on the outside, then they walk in and wow, what happens?
Well, the vast majority of people right now are looking for homes that are done, that they don't have to go in and do any work, whether they're moving down here from another state or, they just been through renovations before and they know how difficult it is. So, and people are willing to pay a premium. People are also willing to pay a premium for new houses, new construction, because they know they're going to go in and they're not going to have to do anything to it. So it's worth them paying that, because it is so difficult to do anything right now between the shortage of materials. All the contractors are busy. And I would recommend to anybody to buy a finished home if that's what they can afford. Some people might want a certain size home, but can only afford the home that needs work that they can do over a period of time.
Okay, but now let's talk about the word staging and how people are in love with their home and all their pictures and all their stuff. And they don't understand that that's why sometimes a home that has nothing in it, unfurnished, sells quicker. Although if it's nice furniture and it's been well designed, that people can see themselves living in it, right?
Well, if somebody's living there, then, we tell them the typical stuff. You have to thin things out. You live in a house one way and you sell a house another. So, the boxes that you've had in the corner for, 3 years, you need to put that away and thin out the closets and, clean the windows, make sure it's always nice and bright. And, but also when it comes to staging is usually done for houses that are vacant. And I think I've only done staging 2 or 3 times. There's 2 times you want to stage a property, in my opinion, when it has an awkward floor plan, or if the excuse me, or if the rooms are very large. Because large rooms, people have a hard time trying to figure out where they're going to put their furniture. Because most people put their furniture up against the wall. But when you have a large room, you don't. It floats in the middle of the room, which actually will make the room look even larger. If it's an awkward floor plan, then you need to help people imagine how they're going to put their furniture. And you don't need to put paintings and everything there. You just need to put the big stuff so they can see how the room would be laid out.
And so I guess if you have some big fancy home to sell, would you actually bring in a designer to try to?
Well, if it's a large home, then the rooms most likely would be large, and you would bring in a staging company. I mean, there's companies that just do staging. I have someone who sells used furniture, nice used furniture, and I will rent the furniture from him because I'm always giving him furniture. So, and there's a cost to him to moving it and stuff like that. So there's times where I've had him bring a few pieces in, but I've never staged a whole house. And even when it's a whole house, you're only going to stage the master and maybe one other bedroom, living room, den, dining room. And that's about it. You're not going to furnish a whole house. The cost would just be exorbitant.
I go into a lot of senior living communities because they advertise in Boomer Times, and they usually always have a couple of models. And when they walk in, you say, "Oh, is this what the person's going to have?" No, it's going to be empty. We're just showing you what it could look like.
Yeah. Well, and they're selling, that model is helping them sell multiple units.
Yes.
So they can afford to do that. But when it's your just your home, it's a little bit more expensive to do. I mean, in a large home, staging could cost $20,000-$30,000.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yes.
Really?
Oh, and if they're purchasing the furniture new, usually they'll say you can buy this is the cost of the home, but if you want to buy the furniture, here's a price for the furniture.
I see. Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, that's good. So I'm glad you talked about it. Now let's talk about the thing that is so overdone, and it's just such a shame that people don't understand what it is to sell your own home. And it's, realtors understand it. They try to explain it. As soon as they put that sign up for sale by owner, you have a lot of realtors who run there to see if they can get the listing. But if the person put it there, they don't want to give out a listing. I'm sure you've had some of these experiences. Why don't you cover that?
Well, I've purchased and sold over 60 homes personally. And there were a couple times where I said, no, I'm going to do it myself. I'll put the sign out. It's a busy road. And, people will call. And the one house that I had, it was on a busy road. It was about $250,000. It was new construction. And people would drive by and they would get this call on the sign. Say, well, how much is it? I said, well, it's $250,000. Well, that's a lot of money for that house. And I would say, well, have you looked at other houses in the area that have sold? Well, no, but I think that's a lot for that house.
Right.
And that was without me putting it in the MLS. So after that one horrible experience, trying to outsmart myself, any time that I've ever sold one of my own homes was always in the MLS and listed through the MLS. Statistically, somebody who sells their own home is leaving money on the table. The other thing, it's a lot of liability. If you're selling the home, if I'm selling your home, I'm conveying what you tell me onto somebody else. If that person, and there's bonding and insurance and E&O insurance and everything else, but if you're selling your home directly to somebody else, you're responsible to disclose all that information about your home. Now, if somebody moved into your home and a year later they find out there's all this termite damage, and they tell the neighbor, oh, we found all this termite damage. Oh yeah, the Smiths, they had a big problem with termites and they had the house tenanted twice, and the sellers never disclosed that. The buyers can go back to the sellers and say, you never told us this, and this is costing us $20,000, $30,000 to fix this situation. So we're going to sue you for it. And it can get pretty tumultuous.
Yep. And then the other part is even writing up a contract. They don't have contracts. They think they're going to go to Office Depot and get a contract. Right.
Right. Yeah. We go through a lot of training. I just did 14 hours of continuing education this week to keep my license active. And, I've been doing this 22 years. And there's still questions in there that I've seen before, but I had to really think about it and go back. And, that's just a small part of real estate with the continuing education. So, there's a reason realtors have been around for a couple thousand years. Even there's companies out there, Zillow and some other companies that are trying to sidestep realtors, but it's just not taking off because we're needed. We're a necessary business.
But I think you point out something, and let me just tell everybody again, this is Anthony Kulp, Anthony Michael Kulp, and he is a senior real estate specialist. His phone number, please write this down, is 954-815-9048. Again, it's 954-815-9048. In the Boomer Times, he has something listed in Leisureville. And Leisureville is really a wonder. There are a lot of Leisurevilles, I believe, too, aren't they? Aren't there?
In Broward County, there's 2, but they do have them all over the country.
Right. I think they have one in Palm Beach County.
Yes, they have one in Palm Beach County. Mm-hmm.
Broward. Well, but a lot of things that you say in here, you have to be careful what you say. So now as a broker, as a realtor, you really have to be careful. But as an owner, as you said so well, they're going to buy it based on what you said. Now, once they go to closing, and hopefully they use a lawyer to go to closing, and they may not know that either. They may just rely on a title company. So in the long run, everyone says, oh, I can sell it myself and I'm going to save 10,000 or whatever they're going to save. But the heartache and the problems, and it can be pretty serious problems that come up, really is not worth it. I mean, if you're going to go to, I'm sure if you think about this, there are a lot of other experts. There are people who do plumbing. There are companies that do air conditioning. And there's some people who think that they can do that in their home. And they've had very bad results from it. Same thing.
Oh, that's wiring.
Right. So this is a profession. This is like a lawyer. It's a real estate broker or sales executive who has been trained, just as Anthony said. It's not simple. It isn't just showing your home and someone hands you a check. And you should really, if you're listening to this Zoomer Times, if you're in the market, go to an expert. It's going to save you so much time and angst if you do it properly. Now you can ask that real estate specialist, how many homes have you sold? Where have you sold them? You can really, you can be investigative, and make sure it's the right person for you, because it seems like so many people are selling real estate nowadays, Anthony. I mean, part-time and everything. So go to someone. Anthony's been selling real estate for so many years, and he has such a great reputation. And something that he didn't tell you is he really started out, in the building world. So he understands all sorts of, let's say, building deterioration and lots of things. Now, whether you're going to hire him to sell your home or to hire him to go buy a home, he's going to bring something that most realtors can't do because they haven't had his experience. Maybe they were a secretary and now they're a realtor, or maybe, something else. So be sure you deal with someone that has lots of credibility.
Well, one other thing about for sale by owner, in most cases, the person ends up listing with a real estate agent. Because my job really starts from the time they say, okay, I want to put an offer in on this property. That's when my job really begins. Other than that, we're just going around, looking at houses, trying to have fun and keep it, not very stressful, low stress. But as soon as it comes to put paper to pen, that's really when my job starts. That's where the training kicks in. And also you have to have negotiation skills. And one of the most important things, try to keep the deal from becoming tumultuous. And in a lot of cases, it's my own client that is, I have to say, whoa, slow down a little bit, all deals don't have to be, fighting back and forth. We can work this out. Let everybody do their job. Let me do my job. Let the other agent do their job. And, we'll get this worked out. But selling it for
Right.
sale is not easy.
Yeah, those are very important words. And now especially, we know someone whose home sold about $25,000 more than it was listed for. And if it were not with a realtor, it could have even been more serious. But a realtor will certainly be there in case there are other offers, because sometimes that one offer, even though it's a lot more money, is not going to be the best offer. They may be wanting other things. Maybe the closing date, maybe so many things have to happen, right?
Well, not only that, but if somebody's coming in $25,000 over the listing price, one of the things you want to turn around and say is, okay, it's no contingencies. It's not contingent on home inspection. It's not contingent on financing. It's not contingent on appraisal, because in a lot of cases, people have buyer's remorse, and you want to close up those contingencies where all of a sudden they can turn around and say, no, I don't want to buy it now, because maybe something else came on the market, or they just feel like they paid too much. You want to be able to say, no, you put a deposit down and there are no contingencies for you to back out of this property. Where a lot of homeowners will think, oh, they gave me all the money, I don't care about all of that, I'm getting an extra 25,000. In a lot of cases, people have buyer's remorse and they back out. I would say 60% of the time, almost.
Really?
And I never put my buyers in that, unless it's really a specific home that they're looking for, and in that area it's really hot. I would always tell my buyers, don't get in a bidding war. Don't get tied up in this. One of the problems, a lot of people don't understand what's called highest and best. So say you have 3 people who put offers in. The other agent takes them to the seller and says, okay, we have these 3 offers. This one is this price with financing, but it has a home inspecting contingency. This one's less, but it's cash. And then this one is a lower than the first one. So what will happen is you explain to the seller, let's give everybody a chance. And you go back to all 3 and say, okay, come back to us with your highest and best. Now, somebody might say that was my highest and best, so I'm not going to, come back. But the other 2 people may come back and come up, with their highest and best. And what you would professionally do is take one of those offers. But what happens today, and with, unprofessional realtors, or inexperienced, I should say, then these 2 offers come back, and then the seller will say, go back to them again and tell them to come back with their highest and best. Well, that's not how it works. You say to people, come back with your highest and best, and I'm going to take the offer that I think is best. It might not always be money. It may be cash. It may be no contingencies. I always recommend to my buyer, don't get caught up in this. Let's keep looking. Maybe it'll come back on the market. We can go back to it, but don't get tied up for 2 weeks. This process could take over 2 weeks. So find somebody who really wants to sell their house.
Also, something I've had experience with friends and all, that they can't, let's say the closing is set for 30 days, but now some things in their life happen and they need 60 days or 90 days. And let's say that could kill a deal, but let's say it doesn't kill a deal. But the person who's selling it says, sure, you can be there, but then they're going to charge them rent. Is that not dangerous to be in a house that you've sold, but that now you're paying rent and maybe you're going to do some damage, or you ever had any experience with that?
Oh, absolutely. I always recommend to sellers or to buyers, if somebody needs more time, then delay the settlement, but don't buy a home where somebody's going to stay. And regardless of them doing damage, things can be fixed. What if they decide they don't want to get out? You have to go through a whole eviction process.
Oh, wait. What do you mean they don't want to get out? You mean
Well,
that
say
they
the
bought the
property,
home?
yeah, say the property they were buying fell through, so they have nowhere to move to. They're not just going to move out on the street on their own. They're going to make you get them out. So,
Oh, my.
right, you don't want to go through that. And Florida has very tough laws with eviction. So, you say, well, when we'll have a settlement date after you vacate the property, I can do my inspection, make sure that it's in the same state of when I saw it and purchased it. But I do not recommend any buyer. Now, on the listing side, the place I was talking about where we ratified the contract this morning, that seller needs to stay in the property for an additional 15 days. So his home is impeccable. It's like the cover of a magazine. So this buyer is very confident that he's not going to do anything. So, but I still would never recommend it to a buyer.
Does he have to pay for the extra 15 days?
On this, they since it was only 15 days and the buyer was so happy with the way that property was taken care of, and he felt so comfortable with the seller that he didn't ask for any additional funds.
Mm-hmm. But see, these are all the little slick things that happen that you, as an experienced realtor, can discuss, other than the homeowner, who I would call Harry homeowner, who just thinks that, wow, we've just saved $10,000 or $20,000 and just look how everything went. But it probably didn't go smoothly, and they don't know, and they have to go find, and I want to talk about one more thing. Lawyers, I think that closing agents are one thing, but I think that lawyers sometimes know something and they're going to protect I guess it's mostly the seller rather than the buyer, isn't it? Or is it both?
Well, no, the seller can have their own attorney. Most buyers choose the attorney. And I usually, or the title company. In Florida, you can use the title company or an attorney, but most title companies are owned by attorneys. But I would always recommend using an attorney, which may be a little bit more expensive, but it's worth it. The attorney that I use, things come up and the buyer never even knows about it because they took care of it. Where a title company may turn around and say, well, there's this problem and you need to go and do this, or we're having a hard time getting this information, so you need to go and get this information. And the attorney that I've been using for years, they're just great. And all they do is real estate and estates. You don't want to hire the guy who is doing all, specializing in all types of law, and he's doing your settlement as well. It doesn't make sense because he doesn't have the connections with the title insurance company or the people who do the lien search, and it's just it's just typically not a smooth transaction. Now, I'll usually recommend to my seller to use the person that the buyer's using, and this way there's less communication for people to go back and forth, unless there's an estate or something special involved other than your typical sale.
And the other thing that some people don't realize is, especially down in South Florida, you can actually buy something and do your closing through the mail. Do you do a lot of that?
Oh, yeah, through the mail. Absolutely. Absolutely. We do it all the time. I just closed 2 last week. They were done through the mail. One of them, actually, the buyer never even saw the property.
Oh, that's another whole subject. Well, my guest has been, as you've seen, Anthony Michael Kulp, and his phone number is 954-815-9048. So if you're going to buy something, you're going to sell something, look to him, because he's not only so nice and attractive, we see that, but he's also very smart. And that's what you want to do. You want to make this something pleasant. I sold my home, or I bought my home, and no problems. So thank you, Anthony. You're always such a pleasure, and you're so smart with things. And we always appreciate having you on our Zoomer Times.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.